You're watching Taste the Victory.
Hey everybody, we got a top 16 deck profile for you guys from Arlington, Texas Digimon Fest. We are joined by Kevin, who was the only green-red hybrids in top 16 between Miami and Texas. An amazing accomplishment, Kevin. You want to go ahead and give us your thoughts on the event and your deck choices that brought you to top 16?
So the event was so much fun. There were some, issues with getting it going because it's the first, big Digimon event. But other than that, it was an insane amount of fun. I got to hang out with friends a bunch. The new mulligan and sideboard was really cool. All right, so we got the eggs here. We got the 4 Kapurimon and 1 Dimimera. So the Kapurimon is basically just the most consistent one. You can go with, some other more, specific ones if you're going for a specific version of the deck. But this one is kind of just covers all angles. You get your +1K when you have a tamer out. If you don't have a tamer out, you're kind of doing bad, so it's not gonna help you too much. The second best one would be the Dimimera. Most of the time, this deck wants, basically how I built it, this deck wants to be attacking. The red rookies, we've got... So this is a kind of a point of contention. I went ahead and went with the Boromons for this tournament. The thing about this guy is that I basically was having a bunch of scenarios where I was racing with my opponents, and I was just looking through some cards last minute the night before the tournament, and I was just like, you know what, this guy's kind of good at attacking. So we tried him out, and as he was actually doing pretty well in a few of the matchups that I was mainly preparing for. So went ahead and put him in for the main event. The Gilmon, when attacking, draw a card, amazing. The Gaussmon, it's for basically the blue and the yellow hybrid matchups. The mirror match, it's also really good, the mirror match. And this is was kind of the flex spot. I've seen a bunch of people play the Flamemons. Those are also really good. It kind of just is up to what you think you're going to play against and which matchups you think you're weakest against. Well, I guess we don't want to forget about Boko. He's technically a rookie. This is basically one of the best 2 cards in the deck. One thing about Boko is this is one of the decks that abuses it the best because it has a ton of turns where you can do mini actions, like evolving into 2 tamers because JP makes them cost less. So there's more opportunity for this guy to trigger for the memory gain, even if your opponent has something like a Madoki out blocking the extra memory gain. The green champions, so we've got 4 Metal Cavatari, 4 Beetle, and then the 1 Arbor. Both of these guys are insane. When digivolving, you can suspend something with 6k or less if you have a JP or a hybrid underneath. And this guy is, when digivolving, anytime. Look at the top 5, grab a hybrid and a JP. Card's insane because you just always want to have a JP. So you need, like, once your first JP gets evolved over and you start attacking, you need to start trying to find the second one. The Metal Kabu is also insane because you can go over another one of your level 4s. The Argomon's here basically just for the 9th level 4. So it was okay. There were a few situations where I kind of needed the extra level 4. If you're trying to fit some flex spots into your deck, you could probably cut it. But it's kind of nice to have the 9th level 4. But it's basically all I'm going to say for those guys. We've got the Soul level 5 in the deck. We've got 4 Rhino Kabatarimon. I'm only running 4 in this deck because, quite honestly, I don't think you need more than 4. And the second best options in green, I just find to be terrible in this version of the deck. Basically, I'm leaning to be more aggressive, and so I don't want to be playing things like Argomon or Blossomon, like suspending my possible attackers just to Evo. So that's basically it. This guy, he costs 1 when you Digivolve over top of a stack that has a Tamer in it. This deck is insanely efficient at Evoing all the way up to your level 6. You Evo one of these guys for 1 over the top of a JP. You go into the Rhino for 1 more, and then that's literally just 2 memory, and you can start attacking with your Mega. It's insanely efficient. You don't actually need to go into your level 6 in some of the matchups because they're very aggressive slanted, so it's not always worth it to get that extra damage in for the 3 memory. Sometimes you want to choke your opponent, or this guy, basically, you're only ever going to evolve when you're attacking, so he has the reduction to 3. But basically, you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, you attack over it with this guy, you go into the Ancient Beetle, you get to trash one of their security, then you get to pierce over for 1, 2, sometimes even 3 damage. It's insanely efficient, really great card. It being 13k is actually insane in this format. There's a lot of 12ks running around. Nothing much more to say about it. It's an insane card. It's really good. I have seen other people try to fit in additional level 6s, like the Argomon that suspends your opponent's Tamers and they don't unsuspend. That card's really good. I kind of considered playing that in the main deck, but honestly, this is the version that I'm playing is it's leaning more aggressive, so I figured it wasn't necessary. If you do find extra spots in your deck, that would be a really good inclusion. It's really good against decks like blue and yellow. 10 green Tamers, which I think is kind of the minimum, and the analogs are here basically for your flex slot. Kind of alluded to earlier that I didn't want to play extra level 5s and 6s, and the analog is kind of filling in for that spot. And it occasionally comes up where you get to suspend it to gain a memory and rehatch your egg. But so the bread and butter of the deck is just finding your JPs and then evolving. So JP has inheritable piercing, and it costs 1 less to evolve into him. So we kind of talked about it a little bit, but your opponent's trying to choke you, and you don't care. You just go into your JP for 1. You get to suspend one of their blockers or any of their Digimon that have 6k or less. You can use the Beetlemon to search, all of that just for 1 memory. The Ken, it's Ken versus Mimi is kind of a hot topic for this deck. So most of my initial testing with this deck, I really liked Ken because I was focused on the getting out Ancient Beetle and attacking with it, and the Ken was really good in allowing you to maintain the turn. So you could basically be at 2 memory, you attack, go into your Ancient Beetle, put them over to 1. After you pierce over their Digimon, you get to use Ken to maintain the turn and have an additional play, which is really nice. I do think Mimi might be slightly better in this version, but I honestly think it's basically just a toss-up on which scenarios you would rather have a boost in. So Mimi basically will let you bring out a surprise attacker after you've evolved into your Rhino, which can be really nice in some of the aggressive matchups. But yeah, that's kind of a toss-up. I went with the Ken for this tournament, but I think you can go with either one. They're both really good. The Izzy here is kind of so it's when one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, you can suspend it to gain a memory. It's kind of a concession to all of the memory blockers and the people trying to shut down your synergies between your tamer and your Digimon. So a lot of times you can go over a JP and a Siaku might block you, but you get to kind of get the memory back with the Izzy. So you can still continue some turns where your opponent may not have planned on you being able to continue your turn. So it's, I don't think I would play the other 2-cost tamer. This one just comes up way too often. And it's kind of said before, the analog is kind of a filler spot. If you want to hone in on a specific metagame or a specific couple of decks, you can replace this with just more of the other cards I kind of alluded to earlier, like the level 6 Argo, extra level 5s, stuff like that. Yeah, it's an okay card. So we have the Thunder Laser. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. If you have a hybrid or 10 warriors in play, this card's amazing. You can just kill Megas with this all the time. You just go up into your Rhino. You have 1 memory left because your Evos are so cheap. You suspend their giant monster with this. You attack over it. Basically crush all their hopes in winning the game. Really good card. You could go down to 2 if you wanted to try to fit some other cards in, but I think I really like it at 3. It's one of the cards in this deck that allows you to have answers to almost everything that your opponent can throw at you. It's kind of similar with Atomic Inferno. Atomic Inferno gives one of your hybrids plus 3k, security tech +1, and basically if your opponent blocks, you get your 3 memory back. Card's really good at pushing pressure. One of the things that it can't do as well in my version, because I run less rookie hybrids, you can't quite as often play it on one of your rookies to get in like a, those games where you might not necessarily be able to push across the finish line. Maybe you get in a check with one of your rookies. But in all honesty, I didn't have that come up that often, so I don't think it's worth using that as a deck building criteria for the card. But as I was saying earlier, you kind of want to draw at least 1 per game, so like at 3. Sometimes drawing 2 is amazing, sometimes it's terrible. So if you're sitting there trying to rebuild your board, drawing a bunch of these isn't going to really help you that much. So that's kind of why I'm only playing the 3. And also the security effect on this is absolutely amazing. It's won me some games. Gives all your Digimon +1 security, even ones in raising, even ones that go on top of your tamer that want to swing later. That turn, it's really good. The last card in the deck is Atomic Blaster. This is a very matchup specific card, but I do think it's good for a main deck slot. It's really good against the red and blue hybrid matchups. It's decent against yellow. It's good against the decks like Loop that can spam bodies on the board. Obviously, you don't want to be killing things, like Icemon Scatter Mode if you can kind of ignore it, but at the same time, it getting free damage in while it's gonna die, that's not good for you either. If you don't have sideboards, you're not playing with sideboards for some of these tournaments, I would recommend at least keeping the 2 in the main deck. I'll go ahead and go over the sideboard. 2 more Atomic Blasters, 2 Geogreymon, 2 Argomon level 6s, 2 more Gaussmon, in addition to the 2 in the main board, and then 2 Magnetomon. Basically, we have these 2 slots for the blue and yellow hybrid matchups. They're also pretty good against things like Cherubi, a few other random decks. These cards on the bottom are basically for the... I can't really see. My light's wrecking me. These bottom 3 cards are basically for the aggressive matchups, or matchups where you, on basically the last turn of the game, you need just that little bit of extra push to get you the win. A ton of these matchups come down to you figuring out the turn where your opponent will have lethal and then planning around it. So that's one of the reasons why I have the Magneton in here. So moving forward, I'm not sure about the Gaussmons, but I think that's just because of my playstyle with the deck. I like being super aggressive with the deck, and there were so many times where I just wanted to attack with this guy to basically put my opponent dead the following turn. And I kind of did that, and then he wasn't there for his ability anyway. So, but it's honestly just depends on how you want to build the deck. There's tons of different ways to build the deck. That's just my take on it, and that's kind of my reasonings. The Argos are really good. You could try to fit a third one in.
Glad to hear that. It looks like it's really fun and takes some getting used to piloting with the different base, not being pure green. Did you find yourself siding a lot? Did you see like there was a huge impact when you did, or no?
So actually, my matchups in Digifest were kind of one-sided, and I don't know if I just got kind of lucky or if that's how the format should be. But I played against 4 blue hybrid and 3 red hybrid in the first 7 rounds, and I just swept all of his guys. So I was basically just siding in these 6 cards every time. Sometimes I would only side 5, depending on if I was on the play or the draw. Being able to use 6 sideboard cards in almost every single round was really nice. So there's a couple of my opponents in the first couple of rounds didn't have like full sideboards or didn't sideboard at all, and so that was kind of, I don't know how much of a factor that made, but yeah, the matchups are really close.
Yeah, it seems like it's been tailored for that. That's really cool. So with mulligans, did you find yourself doing that often? And like, what are you trying to hit in an ideal opening hand? Like, do you focus more on opening red rookies or focusing on JP?
Yeah, so I've actually gotten this. I've gotten this question a few times from other people as I was talking about the deck, and I really think the key cards are these 3 guys right here. So Boko, JP, and Gilmon. So these are kind of just like the 3 pillars of the deck. This finds you the cards you really want to find. This is the card you really want to find all the time. Right. And this just gets you raw card advantage. If you go turn 1, so basically the dream is to have a Gilmon and a JP in your opening hand. So you just go into the Gilmon, play your JP, and you just start going to town the following turn. A lot of times this guy would survive because as long as you play your Tamer on turn 1, he has the +1k from the Referee, so you get to just attack, and a lot of their rookies are going to be 2ks or they'll hit a Tamer, and so you get to draw a second card off of him the following turn. So a lot of times people don't want to play into your JP, right? Because you're going to want to Digivolve into the JP and then attack their Digimon to get extra value piercing over theirs. So a lot of times it just puts them in awkward scenarios where they have to like evolve over their Tamer to kill your Gilmon, and you just get to go back with JP over their Digimon, and you like basically did nothing. It cost you nothing to go into the Gilmon, so they're basically expending resources to kill your Gilmon that already drew you a card, which is kind of insane. It's another reason why I had the Vorbo in here was because a lot of times this guy just survives through your opponent's trading with it. So you get the Vorbo out, you get your damage in. It usually survives.
Very insightful. I appreciate that. That's really cool. Awesome. Definitely seems like such an aggressive deck that's able to keep pace with the meta. Since this ended up being a lot faster after the ban list, I feel like people were really expecting a control heavy meta with yellow, but things are pretty fast paced, I feel like.
Yeah, the amount of blue and Cherubi that have been showing up, at least the excitement for those 2 decks is like, and you basically have to beat those decks by just being aggressive.
Any closing thoughts you want to give on the format, your deck, or anything else?
Oh yeah, I want to give a shout out to my testing partner Marcus and his cat Orange. They basically helped me test a bunch for this. I would basically test out all the decks. I also want to give another shout out to the judge staff at the Digifest. They were amazing once we got through, the initial hiccup period. It was really nice. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think in general, you asked me earlier about my opinions on sideboards and mulligans, stuff like that. I think I kind of like what sideboarding adds to the game, but I kind of understand at the same time why some people don't like sideboarding. I think it probably would be a net positive for the game in the long run, I guess. But honestly, wouldn't be that upset if they didn't keep sideboarding for now. I do, however, think the mulligan rule is amazing for the game, even though it helps decks like Jesmon. Which, if decks like Jesmon are an issue with mulligans, then I think it's more the deck that is going to be the issue, and not necessarily the mulligan rule. Because I think the mulligan rule is pretty fair all around.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for, especially after going all those rounds at the tournament, I think that opinion, that input holds a lot of value. So that's really cool. Is there anywhere people could find you, place you need to plug or anything like that?
Not really. I don't really do any content. And I guess I'm on Twitter. It's Ambleezy if you want to find me on Twitter.
Thanks again for coming on, Kevin, once again.
All right. Yeah, no problem.
And I'll see everyone later. Thank you, and hope you enjoyed the video.
Ready. Peace out.